So my name is Patina Blakeney and I'm a herbalist for about 25 years. Some of my therapies I've done a little bit longer than that. I did the iridology before I did the herbs. And for those of you who don't know about herbalists, so we get medical training, and obviously not to the extent of a doctor, but our practices are mostly like a GP's. So we treat a wide range of things. So I've come across this, several times over 25 years. Some GPs don't come across it very often. But herbalists can also, fix all the other symptoms around, because obviously, they say there's no cure. But often our job is to, fix some of the symptoms and ease whatever everyone's going through, whether it be pain or, emotional stuff. So my practice is a little bit mixed because I also trained nutritionally and trained with minerals, which I'll show you a bit later. And I also studied the 3 flower remedies from Australia, England, and Findhorn, which is in Scotland. And so I also did iridology. And for those of you who don't know about iridology, now I did have a little map to show you here. So your eyes, I don't know if everyone can, see this. The hazel and the blue eyes have about 200 signs in them. There's literally thousands of nerve endings, going back to the brain through the optic nerve. So it's every part is your body part. So your legs are down here. That's a right eye. So your lungs are over here. So doctors have been perfecting this over the last 200 years. And you'll all know more about this than me, probably. Would I be right in saying that? You all know about your situation, you've all looked into it.
Yeah, everybody knows a lot. Well, yeah. Most people know a lot about EDS, but not so much the herb.
So you will know a lot more than me in some respects. So one thing that you see in iridology, this is the nerve wreath, the autonomic nervous system, that connects every single part of your body, to the nervous system and then to the brain. So what you often find in the ideal world, it's a complete round circle, but often you find a break, which it's like a loose connection. And that then that organ will suffer a little bit because it hasn't got the nerve and the blood supply, and some of these things come about obviously genetically, some are nutritional deficiencies, So, don't think it can't be helped, because it can. There is a lot you can do. Herbs are classified as primary medicine. They produce a physiological action in the body. And that's not to say that other therapies don't do that as well, because we know for a fact that they do. So you've got things like acupuncture and, all of these things can produce a different physiological action in the body. But herbs are live medicine, it's life force. And so I'm not saying anything about medications, because sometimes we need them as well. But the less of them we need, the better, because they are not live medicine. Chemicals leave a toxic trail in the body, and you end up not really working with the main problem anyway. So is that someone new joining us? Yeah, so this is really here to assist you from things like side effects. Helping you detox is a really good thing to go alongside your medicines. or some people might not be on any medicines at all. The main thing you've got to do is circulation, because that's your blood supply to everywhere, and tissue healing. So I did have a look at the actual website, so I was familiar. And I know they do mention nutritional things there, so I did look up a few things. I forgot to look at whether on your website, does it mention anything about silicon?
No, I don't think it does.
Oh, okay, because, you know, your silicon and your collagen are the, you know, are your main connective tissue components. But I'll talk about that in a sec. So some of the herbs we use, if I just rattle off, you know, just a few of the things, just so you get familiar with them. And I would just also mention that some things are not good done on your own. You may have to, you know, check with the herbalist first, because obviously there's some things you can't use in pregnancy. And unless you know all the constituents of herbs, then sometimes you know, you can't really always go by what's on the internet. So the connective tissue herbs we use are gotcha cola, rosehip, horsetail and nettle, partly horsetail and nettle because they're high in silica. Now, but the thing about silica is when you get, this silica is from eggshell. So obviously if you're, you know, if you're vegan, you're going to go with other types of silica. But this is where the chemistry gets a bit complex, because silica like this is only 1% absorbable, whereas this is 64% absorbable with you know, clinical trials and that. And that's why sometimes, you know, when we hear of people getting stuff off the internet and, you know, they've just got any old thing, you know, it's just not the same as what we're using in practice. So the other herbs we use is calendula, otherwise known as marigold, because it's very healing. Because sometimes we've got to do a lot of healing work. Comfrey, teasel, Solomon seal. So you must have heard of some of these herbs, because some of them would grow in your garden. And that's as simple as, you know, some of it is. So, you know, we use them in teas, we use them in tinctures. So for those of you who don't know about tinctures, or maybe you all do, I'm not sure. So this is the herbs steeped in water with a little bit of alcohol, which is safe for driving and everything. This is not a connective tissue herb. I just wanted to show you for anyone who didn't know what tinctures are. So usually what happens in a consultation is someone will come and you'll say your symptoms, and then we might put together anything from 4 herbs to 7 or 8 herbs in a bottle. And then you would take a teaspoon of that, you know, twice a day, or, you know, depending on how frequent you need certain things. We're taking a note of everything that you tell us. So if someone's got bad headaches, we're going to go a little bit heavier down the herbs for that. You know, obviously some people have joint pain, some people really would suffer emotionally, and the herbs are good for that as well. But I mentioned the flower remedies before. So even though they're not physically as strong as, you know, your material dose herbs and minerals, they really help the emotions. And I picked this one up just to show you. This is the bush fuchsia, which is the one that's used to coordinate the, you know, the cortex up, you know, up here in the brain. So your 2 halves. So you've got good coordination, because that's a key. Another one that's useful for any chronic condition is called the wild potato bush. And that's for when you're feeling weighed down by your physical situation. And then, of course, you've got all the nice uplifting ones, which is good for the spirit. So sunshine wattle, which just helps you see light, at the end of the tunnel. So everything's not, because I imagine sometimes these things get on top of everyone. Yeah. So yeah. And ideally these are better on their own in a little dropper bottle. They're safe in pregnancy and everything. I often throw them in the mix for people, but depends what you're trying to achieve. So another thing I wanted to show you for the structure, because this is a structural thing we're dealing with, and I deliberately didn't talk about what it actually is, because you already know what it is. Is that okay? So
yeah.
So you're more interested in what can help, chronic things and the structure.
Yeah.
So this is a company I quite like, because this is also really good for people who don't like, or they hate the medicine, or you've got children, who go, yuck, I'm not drinking that. And they're just they're homeopathic sugar pills, but I don't want to say homeopathic because they're slightly stronger. So everything, as you probably know, is, frequency based, whether it's like the density of everything, is of all materials is different. So the frequencies of this is for the bones and the muscles. It's actually called structure. And you can look it up. Their website is phytob.com. And it's the SF, which is Sugar Frog 9. 9 is the structural one. And it's very simple. It's just made of the wild cherry tree. And you can get small and large. But generally, because you're working with these things for a long time, it is usually better to get the large. So you've got lots of different things to choose from here and to work with, and to, for someone to help you choose what's best for you. Then also, I'm also mentioning, names here too, which I don't know if I should really, but it's just that these are the companies that, we all work with that are good, because, and I know you've got, minerals and that on your website. But a good one to add to that is BioCare's collagen complex. And I don't know whether any of you have ever tried some of these things. Have any of you ever? Okay, so BioCare is one of England's best nutritional companies, and they do a collagen complex, and it's got seaweed in it and all your cofactors. So you know that you always need cofactors. And vitamin C, I'm sure vitamin C and zinc's on your website. I mean, you need these for cofactors, for making your structure strong. You can't make the structure strong without vitamin C. And well, as you may or may not know, it's not held in the body. So, you have to keep eating vitamin C or taking it. Zinc helps as well, and I think that's on your website. And a couple of other things. Now, I can't remember if this was on your website or not, but Pycnogenol is the pine bark. Now, that's a patented pine bark, but it is great. That's a really good anti-inflammatory. And you've got CoQ10, which actually helps your cellular energy. And carnitine, which is used for muscle. And I'm presuming you all know about isometric exercises. Like, do any of you go to a physio or an osteopath? Yeah. So yeah, and yeah, So I always think isometric, I don't know if anyone's ever mentioned that before. It's where you're exerting equal, equal pressures. So everything's like equal. Because what that does is it helps, the cross coordination in the brain, and then that filters down, to your muscles. Yeah, and I think you can look them up, or if you're with an osteopath, I'm sure they'll know. So the other thing is, so I can see some of you are young. I can't see if any are maybe menopausal age, but things can get worse after menopause, just because when we lose the estrogen, of course, you're losing even more connective tissue strength. So that's always a vital time to, increase everything. And that includes, calcium. And so then we've also got, so you're aware of all the different types too. So I just thought I'd mention a little bit about the vascular type. And the herbs that we use for that are vascular herbs, and some of them are for the reason that they contain a substance called rutin. So rutin is really good for connective tissue, and you can just buy rutin on its own, but we use yarrow, hawthorn and ginkgo. So you've probably heard of some of those. Yeah, hawthorn grows all over England. And is anyone aware of the brittle cornea, or does anyone have eye trouble? Because I'm not sure if you're aware that there's a company called Good Health Naturally do a fantastic eye drops called MSM eye drops. So MSM is obviously, your sulfur compound, and you probably maybe all heard of MSM or sulfur, which is really important again for your connective tissue. So yeah, Good Health Naturally's, that strengthens the cornea. So if anyone's got, weak corneas, that's the one to get. So digestive and bladder issues are usually a problem. So I'll do the digestive stuff first. So meadowsweet is probably the top herb for things like indigestion. And also meadowsweet is a mild painkiller, because that's how, that's where the doctors got salicylate from. Yeah, do you all know that? Yeah, so aspirin, actually they synthesized the chemical structure from meadowsweet and willow. So in the plant world, we use the whole thing, but in the pharmacy world, they take one of the 200 constituents and they synthesize it and use that. So meadowsweet's a really nice herb to drink too, and it's great for indigestion. It goes in all my pain formulas, all my digestive formulas, because it's just really a nice herb. And then for those of you who are more into, homeopathy or the minerals, you can do this two ways, but heartburn is really treated with a sodium salt called NatPhos, or sodium phosphate is its full name. So you can get that homeopathically, or I like to use it in this form because it's actually got mineral dose, so it works within 15 minutes. And then the bowels. The bowels are always a problem for because part of bowel requires actual movement, and it requires obviously that blood and nerve supply, which is coming from the spine and the lower back, you see. So, you probably know all about, you probably know all about the foods to keep the bowels going, and, so you don't get sluggish, because you got to keep that blood moving and that lymph moving, because it does take the load off you. So one of the best ones, which also helps the liver, and it's not a strong laxative like senna, but dandelion root is a good bowel mover. And then, of course, you're cleaning the blood at the same time. So it's one of the major liver herbs that's used for nearly, everything. But obviously for some people, we have to, use maybe stronger laxatives. And there's lots of ways of getting the bowel to move. And actually vitamin C powdered is one of those ways. So that can really help you. And if you've got magnesium on your website, usually to make the bowel move better, you go for the powdered one. So then you've got a painkiller and a laxative all in one. So for those also who are having bladder problems, one of the simplest things is probably food that you eat. So the corn on the cob, you know when you take the husk off and then the brown hair, right, well the hair, that's corn silk, and that's one of the top kidney bladder herbs. You can use it on children. It's very soothing. It's full of nutrients. Like I say, most herbs have got, well, between 100 and 200 nutrients in them. So that always just reminds me of a funny story, because I've got a friend who's got a place in France and she lives opposite a cornfield. And anyway, I sometimes go over and help her do stuff and or just visit. And so we got the corn and they were about to throw it all away. And I said, oh, no, you got to drink this stuff. And ever since then, they make fun of me now for drinking corn silk. So yeah, there's lots of great bladder herbs. And again, for those who have got cystitis a lot, the Nat Phos, which I mentioned, you can do homeopathically or mineral dose, that is fantastic for burning bladder. Now, if someone's got an infection, I usually mix it with iron phosphate and then it helps clear pretty quickly. But, all these things, they're just keeping your body in balance, in what's called homeostasis, because if you don't keep some of these things in control, you just end up with a massive issues, and things that are left inflamed, if you're not healing that inflammation at the same time, it's going to be hard to get better without actually helping yourself. But I imagine you all are doing stuff to help yourself anyway, because otherwise you wouldn't be in a group talking about it and being proactive. So licorice is the other one for the bowel. So you probably all know that licorice is a laxative. But of course, licorice is a steroidal herb, which means that it's an anti-inflammatory. So some people maybe can't use it because they'll have high blood pressure. But then we've always got a substitute. So then you just go with a Chinese herb called Romania, which is a great anti-inflammatory. And then you don't have that problem. There's always a way around everything. Now, let's see, on the back here. Right. So does anyone have kids that are diagnosed?
Yes.
Okay. So I was just going to, touch a little bit on kids. Well, you probably already know that, when they're young, sometimes it's hard to get the diagnosis early because, symptoms can be anything really, and it's up to clinicians and that to determine, if a person keeps getting something that doesn't respond to some of these simple treatments, then you're always looking deeper. What else is going on here? So often it's when nothing else works, we're looking at the connective tissue, you know, what is not right here. So, you know, again, for children, yeah, like I say, all these things are safe for children. Constipation's an issue, fissures, you know. Now for fissures, you need a different type of calcium. It's called calcium fluoride. And it's not normal bone building calcium. The fluoride is what we use for connective tissue strength. So it's what we usually go with people who've got collapsed discs or varicose veins or anything where the connective tissue is weak. It's the calcium fluoride. So, and then of course your silica. So your silica and your collagen are the things that, you know, it's like scaffolding. So you probably know about that. So nerve pain, a lot of people are going to have nerve pain. And this is where you're going to, you know, need the magnesium and great herbs like skullcap. So skullcap's one of the best herbs for nerve pain. Actually, St. John's wort is, but and chamomile, but there might be some people who maybe are on other things for other reasons and can't have St. John's wort. But yeah, like I say, there's always substitutes. And does anyone want me to comment on POTS? Okay, because, well, so that again is a complex thing in its own right. Sometimes you can whittle that down to certain things. So yeah, it's good if you can find someone, you know, or get someone on your side to help you, you know, get, well, because there's about 10 different causes of that, you know, you'll probably, each individual will have only maybe a couple that are really, you know, is more appropriate to them. So things like the fast heartbeat, lemon balm and motherwort are the two main herbs for that. People with a low blood pressure usually need stimulants like ginseng, but then there might be some people who can't have that. They need sometimes iron. Iron will sometimes bring your blood pressure up. And the other thing that will bring your blood pressure up is salt. And of course you need salt with POTS because some people are going to sweat a lot. So they're going to need their potassium, their sodium, their magnesium, their chlorides. And this is where it's handy to have, you know, someone like a herbalist or a nutritionist on your side, because you can check in with them, you know, at regular intervals. You know, it means you've got always someone, you know, looking after you and you know, taking different angles than you otherwise would do, you know, with your doctor or your specialists. And I think that's, yeah, that's all the things I wanted to touch on. And I didn't know whether anyone wanted me to, maybe I should just give you a quick idea about, you know, things like this that I say that are used in clinical, well, not just clinical trials, but in clinical practice. So that one that's made of eggshell, they found that stiffness, now this is partly including arthritic people as well as connective tissue people. So the stiffness within 4 to 10 days improved, you know, hugely. And there was one here I saw, yeah, so people had a 27% increase in flexibility, 72% increase in general pain, you know, after 30 days. Yeah, 47% also flexibility. That's at a different time. Associated pain, 75% reduction. But that's not to say that that would be the right thing for everybody's pain, because some people are going to get better pain relief, maybe with certain herbs or certain types of magnesium. And you know, sometimes we're tapping into more like some chronic things, you know, have a little bit more deep-seated, you know, emotional weight. And some of the herbs are kind of better, you know, going down that road as well. So sometimes you find people get much better pain relief with things like wood betony, which is a fantastic, it's my favorite migraine herb. You might get better pain relief with, you know, those nice neurological herbs than you would do with an anti-inflammatory like turmeric or black cohosh or any of those ones that are used for bones and muscles. So it's partly about, you know, don't give up if, you know, you've tried something once and it hasn't worked, because, you know, this is a complex thing. It's not just a simple thing. You know, it's something you're working with. And yeah, just, you know, just don't give up. Just keep either trying stuff or get someone on board with you that's, you know, going to help you or fill in the bits that you might not, you know what to do with. So let's just see if there's any more other. So obviously, yeah, you know that collagen's the most abundant protein in the body, and there's 28 types in the body. I guess you knew that. And you know, you need silica. Like I say, silica's high in green beans, actually. Yeah, so silica contributes to the production of collagen. So that's, you know, not only repair, but, you know, production. So yeah, I think that's the main bits.
Bettina, could you tell everyone where you're based in case they wanted to come and see you?
Yeah, I'm in Broadstairs. And up until a few months ago, I was practicing once a month at the Blackheath Complementary Health Centre in London, where I've been for 20 years. But yeah, that's been a little bit up and down with lockdown. So I haven't been travelling. I didn't think it was maybe a good idea to travel, but
yeah.
I might get pulled up by the police on the way. So
Also, so we've got some questions here for you. Can you give us the names of the supplement companies again, please?
Yeah. Now, the only one you won't be able to get over the counter because it's practitioner only is the collagen ones is Biomedica Australia, and that they're practitioner only, and they definitely, yeah, you definitely won't be able to get those. Now the structure ones, that's phytobiophysics. And do you want me? You want me to type that in? Should I type it in or?
Yeah, that'd be useful. Yeah.
Now, let's see. How do I do this?
Kirsty?
You should just have a chat box at the bottom of your screen.
Yep. Oh, okay. So it's phytob.com. Oh, no. We don't want predictive. phytob.com. And they've actually got a little video. They've got a video with each of the ones. So you can check the SF9 and she does a little video on it. Now, these ones here are practitioner only as well, but you might be able to get those on a website called Nutri Market. I'm not sure if they'll let you get them, but and you see, most herbs are usually done on a very individual basis. But a lot of the ones I've mentioned, you know, they are on, you can get those off places like myself. I've got a lot of the teas on my website. which is herbalapothecary.co.uk. Or some people might like to get them from Baldwin's in London or Neilshard Remedies. These are all great places, you know, to get herbs. Like I say, some of them you got to be careful with. Comfrey, we wouldn't give anyone with, you know, liver condition. So the other one, okay, so the other one, right, is BioCare Collagen Complex. Now it is about, I can't remember off the top of my head, it is about 24 pounds, and it's got things like, you know, the seaweed, etc. You know, because a lot of collagen comes from, I mean, there are vegetarian collagens. The difference with these ones that I showed you from the Biomedica, it's the matrix, you know, so it's actually got, it's called matrix because it's got the amino, what do you call them, the amino glyco, and, you know, proline and glycine, and, you know, those are your amino acids, you know, for the connective tissue. Yeah, when you get vitamin C, always get it with the bioflavonoids, because that's how you keep the connective tissue strong, so the vessels don't leak. Yeah, so if I also just write, so those minerals, it's Blackmores, which is an Australian company. They're everywhere in Australia and New Zealand. And they're called celloids. And I think it's Nutri Market. I think it's .co.uk. However, I'm not sure if they'll allow you to purchase if you're not a practitioner. But yeah, you can just get everything through me if you want. Did you want me, I suppose what I could do is, yeah, like I say, all the herbal teas are on my website. Did you want me just to type in a few of those words, because they're probably a bit hard to remember?
Yeah, if you've got some yeses there.
Okay, so then we've got, okay, so meadow sweet is gastric and anti-inflammatory. And then you've got corn silk for the bladder. And then you've got horsetail and nettle for the silica content. And of course you've got comfrey and calendula. And the main one, gotcha cola. Now, gotcha cola you can't use with anyone with epilepsy. Yeah, so these are all healing, and gotcha cola is a main tissue strengthener. Healing and tissue strengthening. What else have we? Oh, and of course, well, seaweed. Now, seaweed you don't want to take if you've got a really fast heart rate. So you don't want to increase your heart rate too much. Let's see, what did we say for kids here? So it's, now, did I mention silica or? Silica is in the collagen complex, but yeah, I suppose I've mainly talked about silica and collagen being important things here. Okay, have I missed anything, or?
No, I think that's good. Another question we've got is, would it be possible to discuss what to help with an underactive thyroid and or a hiatus hernia?
Yeah, hiatus hernia. Hiatus hernia, again, calcium fluoride. I mean, I could talk a lot about, it's called calc fluor, which you can get from homeopathic companies as well. I'll just put HH for. Also, hernias need comfrey. Again, all the connective tissue stuff. Hiatus hernia, you need to do bitters in front of your meal in order to bring your gastric acid up a little bit. So now for some people, they might not want to do that. So they might just want to stick with things like comfrey and calc fluor. And, you know, hiatus hernia also responds well to carrot and papaya, like juice, or to, you know, to eat it. And again, well, wood betony. Actually, I'm just going to put that wood betony in, you know, for headaches and pain. You know, it's a good herb for that. So what did you mention apart from the hiatus hernia?
Underactive thyroid.
Okay, so underactive thyroid is a huge, huge issue, which is never ever done outside consultation because it's complex. There are so many things, everyone's, you know, individual. But the reason you need to keep that thyroid going is because, you know, that metabolic rate. So you need that, because otherwise you're just going to build up lymph fluid. You've got 3 times more lymph fluid than blood. So, you know, stuff just stagnates. So you've probably already been told that you've got to move. And this is where catch-22 comes in, because maybe some people can't move that good, and maybe some people can't do the cardio they need. But see, this is where on the inside, if you're taking metabolic things like seaweed, nettle, with a bit of ginger and, you know, maybe cayenne for some people, you know, these are things that inside in your blood is going to increase your metabolic rate anyway. And ginseng does that as well. It depends whether someone, you know, obviously we have to judge it against the medication. I do treat some people who like refuse medication, so they have to, you know, they have to be monitored. So sometimes, well, as long as they're not vegan, we might use what's called the thyroid gland, which is a small capsule of the, you know, which is what they used to do before the synthetic drug. And by the way, thyroxine is not everything that the thyroid needs. You know, the thyroid, as you probably know, needs loads of minerals. You know, you've got to have the tyrosine, you've got to have the, you know, selenium. You know, it needs a lot of minerals. That's why seaweed also works because of the iodine. But it's if you're on medication, it's good to supplement it with, you know, there's a few good companies that do what's called thyroid support. So Higher Nature does a thyroid complex, and that's nutrients just designed for that. Viridian do a thyroid support, as do Nutri Advanced.
Okay.
Does that answer the thyroid thing, or?
Yeah, I think that does. Yeah.
Yeah.
So how would people contact you? What's the best way to contact you?
Well, probably the best way is just to ring the shop and either, you know, leave a message if we don't answer straight away, or lots of people email me. And I have to say, over the last year, I started off with like a 2G mobile phone, and I've had an iPhone for over a year now. And now I've got messages like coming on WhatsApp chat, and Telegram, and now I get messages from all over, and I sometimes can't work out where I've seen the message. But yeah, so I mean, the website's herbalapothecary.co.uk. There's Instagram and the Facebook is Broadstairs Herbal Apothecary. Yeah, so anyway, really, phone, email.
Okay.
Yeah.
Right, what else we got here?
Yeah, were there any other questions?
There's one.
I saw someone asked about turmeric.
I think you're right. There's another one. Comfrey is all right to ingest. I know it's good for wounds.
Yes. Now, this is where you're going to probably see stuff on the internet, or people say, oh, no, you can't have that. There was a lot of controversy based on only a couple of cases, and that's if you ingest too much of it over a long period of time, you've got a build-up of the pyrrolizidine alkaloids, which can affect the liver. But I've never known anyone to actually have that. So what happens is sometimes they're called the medicines regulatory body. They sometimes if they get wind of something happening like that, they'll often ban that herb. So there are some herbalists who now won't use it, but I always monitor. I just make sure that the person's not pregnant and they're not using too much of it, and you interchange it with other ones. But yeah, it's not probably as safe a herb as nettle. Nettle's like good for everything. Yeah, nettle's a really good diuretic as well. So for people who are maybe needing to pee more because they need that extra push if they haven't got the that good nerve blood connection, and nettle's great for that. Nettle goes in all my hypothyroid formulas too. But did that answer the comfrey question? Comfrey's really good for gastric ulcers, broken bones, colitis. When people are got mucus or bleeding, it'll help stop that.
So what was that? Are you doing online consultation still?
Yeah, so at the moment, this is the sad bit, because I'm really missing not doing the iridology, close, because I always do that with a consult. I'm not seeing anyone close up just yet, even though we are kind of allowed, but I had to make allowances for, the staff as well. So I'm doing basically everything, either like Zoom or Skype or on the phone. I just spend a lot of time on the phone now.
Okay.
Yeah, it's not quite as good, but pretty good.
Yeah.
Do you believe that turmeric is one of the better spices to use, and any particular advice as to which manufacturers?
Well, I mean, I use Viridian. Now that's not a high dose one, but you can be really sure that everything about them is good, and there's no fillers, so there's capsules. Some people who like to go for the higher dose ones, like the Lamberts, Lamberts have got one that says it's got 10,000 or 20,000 milligrams. Once you start getting to 20,000 milligrams, some people will get stomach aches. And the higher dose you go, there's if you've got gallstones, it's not always good for that. Again, Biomedica, they've got a good one. So theirs is a higher dose. I really like the pucker. pucca have 3 types of turmeric. So if I've got someone with a lot of pain or arthritic pain, I think it's called turmeric active. Yeah, everyone probably knows the pucca brand because of the teas, and they've even got ads on telly now. So yeah, pucca, which you can get at health food stores. The one called active has actually got boswellia, which is the best painkiller, and it's got seaweed in it as well. Although the dose of turmeric in that is probably not as high as some of the other brands. There's hundreds of brands on the market of turmeric now, so I actually probably can't comment on a lot of them. And some of them have got black pepper in them. Yeah, there's actually, did you know that turmeric as a liquid doesn't work that great as a painkiller? It works best either as the powder or the capsule, which is the powder, or some people, do like the high dose ones. I think there probably are some brands that don't work very well. And like, if you want to try something and you think, oh, well, that did nothing, either try another brand or maybe ask, well, I don't know, you probably have already asked people in health stores, have you?
Yeah, I'm sure people don't know. Yeah, we've got nods.
Yeah. You'll normally find that nutritionists and herbalists don't always use the same brands that are in Holland and Barrett, although they have got some good brands. So yeah.
So could you tell us what that migraine herb was again, please?
Yes, I did. Yes, I'll put it here. Migraine, wood betony, or some people just call it betony. But I've got a good migraine tea in the shop, and mine's also got a great old English herb called woodruff, which is kind of like passion flower. It sort of makes you feel, like not spaced out, but not worried. It's one of those ones that helps you not worry. And some people have probably got woodruff maybe growing in the garden. They use woodruff in now, is it absinthe or no, that's just pure Artemisia. Some of those bitter blends they use, digestive bitters, they use woodruff. But I just love wood betony because so I'm going back decades here, but yeah, when I was younger, I used to have migraines. So, I tried a few things, and wood betony was one of the only herbs that worked for me. A lot of people go straight for feverfew for its anti-inflammatory effect, but yeah, I just found wood betony's great. Having said that, skullcap's another top migraine herb. Yeah, there's loads really.
Bettina, can you mix these with things if they don't taste good?
Yes, yeah, you can always mix it with anything. Yeah, anything you want, fruit juice. And you can, if you powder the herbs or get it powdered. See, I don't keep powdered herbs, I only keep the cut herb. But places like Baldwin's, I think you can get the powdered herb, and you can buy them in nice, small packets too. But if you keep watching, we've got a YouTube, the herbal association I'm with is called the Association of Master Herbalists. So all herbalists in England, are a member of some association, but we've got a YouTube one coming out, I don't know, maybe next week. I did for them on electuaries, which is an old-fashioned thing where you've got powdered herb and you mix it in honey, and then you just take a teaspoon, once or twice a day, and it's really good for kids. But yeah, you can just mix it in anything. Although I wouldn't mix it in black tea because the tannins will block your absorption of, you know, getting the herbs in you.
Okay, so we've got, I already take multi-supplements and I'm on a very tight budget. Are you able to guide me to the best ones from what you've mentioned if I have to be selective? My particular conditions are EDS, fibromyalgia and osteoarthritis.
Yeah, I always think when people are on a budget, and see, I'm a big one for helping people with their budgets. So teas, herbal teas is the cheapest way to do herbs, because, you know, tinctures, like a 200 ml tincture is £17 and 100 mils are £9, and most herbalists sort of charge around about the same. The only thing is that the teas aren't always as strong a dose as the liquids. But yeah, teas is the cheapest way. And, you know, it's a herbalist's job to condense what the person says. So if someone says, oh, I've got this pain and that pain, we're thinking in our brains, okay, we need an anti-inflammatory here and a, you know, this and that. And then we condense it so we can, you know, tell you what formula to do. Or yeah, sometimes some of my job is, you know, people come and they're lined up with supplements because they read about them all. And so what I do is sometimes go, well, you could have this supplement which has got that and that in it, and then you're not spending money on 10 different pots of things. You've just got 1 or 2 or 3 things. What was the condition you just said then, that person, you said this, you said 2 or 3?
EDS, fibromyalgia and osteoarthritis.
Okay, fibro is really complex. I could talk to you for an hour, you know, it's different people get different things with fibro. So sometimes it depends on the reason why they got it. You know, whether you're working more with certain antivirals and immunity, or whether, because fibro comes as a consequence of other chronic issues, which is often tied in with this, because, you know, it comes as a consequence of, you know, this sort of thing, or major traumas, or yeah, that's a tricky one. So they're wondering what the best things to do for fibro. Well, you really can't treat fibro without magnesium and vitamin Bs, because the Bs doesn't stay in your body, and you need the Bs for neurological support. I tend to use magnesium powder a bit more so probably people might have heard of a really good product called Muscle Ease by Nutri Advanced. It is a bit pricey. It's £30 for a tub. But sometimes it's better to go in a little bit hard like that and get your major symptoms down. And then you can go on you know, like a cheaper form of magnesium. That one's a bit expensive because it's got so many cofactors with it. It's got the potassium, and it's got the vitamin E, and it's got the Bs, and it's got everything all in one. But actually, I treat so much fibro that we've got a huge bottle of a formula that's already made up with things like, you know, black cohosh and Rehmannia and celery. Yeah, and I do have an arthritic tea that's already made up, which is, I don't know, about £2.75 for an ounce. So probably the teas, but then some people just don't like the taste of the teas. I'd probably have to hear the case, the individual case, to maybe know what might, you know, be better.
Yeah, it was myself who asked the question, and I agree it is incredibly complex, and even that myself being the one with the fibromyalgia, but it is secondary. It was always said by my rheumatologist as a secondary to the EDS,
Yes.
same as the osteoarthritis.
Yeah.
However, I mean, I had viral pneumonia when I was 11, so that viral infection could have set off the fibromyalgia in tandem with the Ehlers-Danlos, for instance. That's even one dynamic right from the sort of beginning.
Yeah.
And I have suffered different traumas, mental health, etc., etc. So I agree, it's incredibly complex. And I think what I'm trying to get to is what you actually said then is, okay, a tub of it's £30. However, that tub will have probably 7 of the things I'm already taking.
Yes.
If that makes sense. So, you know, I'm buying all these random pots of things and sort of none the wiser as such. So I think it's just understanding, like you said, one of those main ones that, I mean, I'm getting from you magnesium, I'm getting I've made lots and lots of notes. I mean, I think of turmeric anyway as a massive thing for all 3. And like you said about teas, I think it's about really investigating the different types of teas, because I suffer from a lot of nerve problems, that sort of sensitivity, nerves, a lot of nerve pain as well as the joint pain.
You know what we also sell masses of, because it just works so good. Sometimes if people, you know, don't want to take anything, or they're nervous to take anything, maybe they're older or whatever. But one thing that's really great for osteoarthritis pain and muscle pain, which is your fibro pain, it's Waleda's arnica balm, and it's got arnica, which is for, you know, use of the body and pain for use of the body. It's got birch oil, which has got salicylates in it, and it's got rosemary and lavender. And rosemary gets right into the muscle and the circulation. And it's just simply 4 oils, and a 50 ml bottle is, I think, £8.95. And some people just get great relief just from, it smells gorgeous, and you can just put it on, you know, wherever you hurt. So it's good for muscle and bone.
That's good, because Tiger Balm, my skin gets irritated by it, which is really annoying.
Tiger Balm is too strong.
Yeah.
Yeah. And the other thing about Tiger Balm, yeah, it is too, I mean, it's potent. Yeah, it'll certainly give you a kick. But the thing about arnica is you're actually healing tissue at the same time. It's like what I was saying about the marigold and the comfrey. You're healing tissue at the same time. See, some of these things aren't, you're just getting like pain relief. But when you do stuff like arnica, you're killing 2 birds with 1 stone.
Excellent. Yeah.
Yeah.
And the other thing, then I'll finish because I don't want to take over, but the eggshell, I think, was something else that I really found what you said might be really pivotal in all of our conditions.
Yeah. And I have to say, actually, that this is fairly new on the market. I mean, I don't think that's even been on the market for about a year. So often before I would have used BioCare's collagen complex maybe, or some people just have, like, you know, the fish collagen. Actually, I'll tell you a really good, because some collagens are 20 quid. There's a company called G&G, and they do collagen, and it's only £8, and it's a fish one. Like I say, well, there are vegan ones on the market now. Yeah, but the egg one is quite, it's fairly new. So
so out of the choice, you'd recommend the collagen one to go first, just to see how?
Well, maybe. Yeah, maybe. For some people, I think it would be better to have things like seaweed, you know, especially like the BioCare one, especially if they've got a sluggish thyroid.
Well, thank you.
It's hard to say, because some people might get better results from a liquid mix. But yeah, because, you know, the thing about the silica you know, which is the egg one, or the other collagen matrix they do. Actually, that's an egg one as well. Is, you know, like I say, silica and collagen are only, yeah, well, I suppose it's the major part of, you know, EDS. Yeah, so maybe that's, I don't know, maybe that's where maybe a lot of you haven't, I don't know, filled in a gap. Or do any of you take any other type of collagen? Or because most collagen is beef, or which does have a really good absorption.
My understanding of that, though, was that because collagen's something within the body, you can't actually take anything to repair what's wrong with us, basically, the default collagen protein.
Yeah.
That's what I was told as well. Someone said, oh, because you're deficient in it, there's no point trying. So yeah, and it's something I've never really massively looked into.
No, me neither. So exactly, I only know what we just said.
Like those ones do have the cofactors with them. Now let me think about that. There's no point trying. Yeah, say that again. What you said about.
They said, because I read something online and they said, oh, when I first found out it was collagen with EDS, oh well, what about collagen supplements? I think it probably was a doctor, I think, and he said, oh, there's no point taking it because you're like lacking in it anyway, so there's no point trying. Like they wouldn't do anything.
See, I was told it just doesn't have an effect because our bodies are producing it in the wrong way.
Yeah.
We can't recreate that pattern as such by taking a supplement. We can take supplements that help us and assist us with other things, but we can't help that default in the collagen. That was my understanding, but it's very limited understanding.
Yeah,
There's so much, it's complex, like cross-linking and all that, isn't it?
Yeah.
Now, to be honest, I'm not really someone who thinks it's never worth trying.
Oh no, everything's worth trying. It's not dismissive. It's
that
just
could be.
I think when I was originally told that though, I thought, well, my first question in my head was, well, what if I was told that when I was younger? Would that have made a difference?
Yeah, I mean, yeah.
I thought that if we take collagen supplements, they are broken down by our digestive system, and then because our genes make the faulty collagen, when we put it back together, we'll just have more ingredients to make faulty collagen. It won't replace our proper collagen.
Yeah, but I think that's the problem with just using straight collagen. You know, which is why most of those nutritional companies, it's not just straight collagen. It's they've got all the cofactors. That could be why that maybe doesn't work on its own.
I've never heard about the cofactors.
Because when I knew I was doing this talk, I specifically got the clinical stuff. Those figures I quoted to you was for osteoarthritis and connective tissue disorders, and I know there's, you know, lots of them, not specifically this. But yeah, I don't know. I'd say it's probably is worth, you know, trying, because the whole thing, you know, like even dealing with other chronic things that, you know, we're always working with a 3-month time frame, because they say it takes 3 months to change something. And surely the more you do something, the more signal you give to the brain that this is what I'm doing continually. I don't know. I think I would need to maybe I wonder if there's proof of that, you know, where I wonder if someone's done a study that has actually shown the use of collagen and that people that took it and then what happened in the body. Yeah, I'm just not sure.
Like we say, like I'll try anything. More than happy to try. It's it's just sometimes when as soon as you mention, I was like, oh, can aloe vera help with I don't know, like my gut? And they're like, no, no point trying. Take these medications, and you think, oh, all right then. But
aloe vera does help with the gut.
Yeah,
and it helps lots of things.
Yeah, they're just really dismissive.
It might not cure EDS, but you're working with side effects, aren't you? So you're working with knock-on effects. Yeah, aloe vera has got, I think, almost as many minerals as seaweed. It's one of the top, like, nutritional. I mean, the 5, you know, like alfalfa, seaweed, aloe vera is like probably in the top 5, you know, containing everything. Apparently moringa contains a lot of stuff as well, you know, and aminos. Well, I'd be curious. Yeah, I'd be curious if there's, you know, what research papers. Yeah, I wonder if there's a way. Actually, I wonder if your your lady and your company there has some research notes on that. Maybe some of those doctors who have done your chats, you know.
It's not something I'm aware of, to be honest, but I guess it's something that could be looked into.
Yeah, I'd be curious. Yeah.
We've got 3 questions here.
Oh yeah.
So if we can move on to one of the other ones, we've got what would be the best herb for Raynaud's?
Prickly ash. Prickly ash is my favourite herb for that. Okay. But usually if I'm doing someone a mix for that, I always would add cayenne pepper, if you know, just a dash. With ginkgo, maybe yarrow, hawthorn, definitely vitamin E, fish oil. But Raynaud's often needs calcium, and I tend to like those little minerals. For Raynaud's, I also usually give them, especially maybe in winter, I give them calc phos with iron phos. It's called CPIP. Yeah, because you need calcium for the contraction of the blood vessel. But yeah, fish oil and prickly ash is brilliant.
Okay, what was the tub and company for the fibro powder?
It's called Muscle Ease by Nutri Advanced. And I do have to say that they do about 3 or 4 different powders in this range. And sometimes I get better results. They do one called Mega Mag Calmies, which is a chamomile flavour. So if you've got people who can't sleep, sometimes they get on better with that one. Yeah, so probably if you look at their website, you'll see that they've got, you know, a few different powders that some are designed more for energy and some more for the muscle and some more for anxiety or sleep.
Do you have any suggestions for people with mast cell issues?
Mast cell. Oh, okay. You'll have to enlighten me here. Yeah.
A lot of us have a condition called mast cell activation.
Oh, do you mean, sorry, what, okay. I think you're saying M-A-S-T, mast.
Yes.
Now, I was actually going to mention that. Right. Yeah, the histamine release from the mast cells. Yeah. Okay. I didn't think anyone was going to ask that. But yeah, it was the last thing on my list. Okay, so again, it's probably better to do it individually, but yes, so you were saying that you're making too much, the mast cells are producing too much histamine.
Yes.
Well, okay, so first of all, you've got all your foods. So, like, do you know all your histamine foods that are going to make it worse? You know, like tinned fish and dried fruit and, you know, all the histamine things. So you have to try and avoid them. But again, Biomedica do a really good one called HistEase, which is black seed and quercetin. Quercetin is one of the best things for all allergies, because the thing with mast cell is, you know, usually allergies, but you'll have to enlighten me here just so I can answer your question better. This, you know, activation that you've got, is it displaying itself like with major allergies or headaches, or?
They tend to be sort of non-anaphylactic sort of skin allergies,
Skin reactions.
lungs as well, and gut.
Yeah. So yeah, so your reactions, yeah, so skin.
I personally get sort of red, splotchy,
Yeah.
itchy,
Yeah.
rashes.
And because you know your gut, you know, your gut immunity will then show on the skin, because this, you know, the skin is called the second bowel. So yeah, quercetin is really good, you know, for this. And again, things like rutin, because it keeps the blood vessels strong. I mean, there's loads of antihistamine herbs like nettle, you know, nettle, plantain, you know, skin ones, you know, normally I would put echinacea in there too. Viridian do a fantastic one called quercetin. Is it quercetin plus? And it's quercetin with B5, because B5 stops the allergic reaction. But I think probably quercetin or rutin, because they're the ones. Oh, and bilberry. You know, bilberry.
How do you spell rutin? Would you mind writing down the herbs for here in the chat?
Yeah. These are the ones that actually keep the blood vessels strong, that then obviously stops the leakage, then it stops it going into the bloodstream. So, right, so quercetin and yeah, bilberry and nettle. And one of the quercetin ones I like, it's got quercetin and B5, and that's by Viridian. But Lambert's do one as well. I think it depends really, like how, you know, how it's manifesting for people. Well, like you say, the skin. Yeah, usually we're trying to keep the gut lining from being leaky. I mean, I know is it slightly different to any other allergic reaction? Is there anything else that makes it different from a normal? Because that's what happens with hay fever or anything, you know, the mast cells produce more histamine, and then
I was told it's a non-IgE mediated reaction, so it's not involving the immunoglobulins, but
Yeah.
the histamine, I don't know if it's similar for everybody else with MCAS, but well, I had a blood test that showed that my enzyme wasn't breaking down the histamine that was in my body already from the foods that I eat. So I've got a list of foods that I avoid.
Yeah.
So I'm just avoiding it building up in the first place.
Yeah.
I don't know if there's things that help with that.
Well, see, this is where, you know, the other thing is, like, you use the body, like, you know, plumbing system is to use things like psyllium husk, which is used, you know, for the bowel, or linseeds. And then what that does is it attracts stuff to it in the bowel. So you're getting a quicker detox. So anything you can do to, you know, to help. And also lymphatic herbs. See, it's always like your inner plumbing. So the lymph herbs would drain away, So it's just, you know, this buildup, you know, gets cleared quicker, you know, by your detox channels. So yeah, we always utilize the kidneys and the bowel to, you know, to get rid of buildup of stuff. Yeah, a lot of people always forget those really simple naturopathic things, which the old doctors would have always advised. You know, old naturopathic doctors will have always advised the things to do alongside it. Yeah, so I'd probably have to maybe check that for you, whether there is a subtle difference. But yeah, I mean, black seeds often better for people who are more congested, you know, and phlegmy, like chesty and mucousy, and, you know, although black seed's a bit of a panacea in, you know, some countries. But yeah, that's a good question. Yeah, one which I'm not that experienced in answering that.
Okay.
Yeah, sorry about that.
Somebody's asked if you could put the name of your website in the chat.
Oh yeah. Mm-hmm. So
Okay, that's great.
sadly, the website has only got about 1/10 of the things that are in the shop. Yeah.
So everybody needs to get themselves down to Broadstairs.
You know, the sad thing at the moment is we're just serving everyone at the door.
Oh, I see.
I know, yeah. So people usually at the moment they're ringing first, and then and then I hand the stuff over at the door, or I post it, you know.
Yeah.
Okay, has anybody else got any more questions?
Not a question, but I was just having a look, and I know somebody mentioned on the chat about having read somewhere, and it actually does say on Ehlers-Danlos.com, one of the other major websites, that there is no established research or clinical experience that has proven that collagen supplementation is helpful for persons with EDS. So yeah, it sounds.
Now this is where, when we were at university, we were taught how to discern research. And this is where you have to then, you ask that person, was the research done purely on just collagen with no other cofactors? You see, and that's a real big, you know, loophole, that this is where so much thing goes wrong in the media.
Right.
Yeah, but yeah, so I'd love to know. And also, you know, whether they varied it, whether they did fish collagen and beef, or, you know, because, you know, it depends. I don't know if you know much about the scientific world, but you know some of the research is flawed too.
Mm.
Yeah, which is why they made us do a module at uni. yeah, some of the research is usually funded by people who are maybe then doing the specific supplements, or or yeah.
Do you do UK deliveries?
Yes. Oh yeah, we send all over the place. Yeah, we're at the post every day.
Okay.
I'm just waiting to hear on a customer post Brexit. I sent something to Italy. I'm just waiting to see whether she gets hit with customs tax. Yeah.
And can you write down the herbs for the Raynaud's? Can I have it written down in the box as well?
Yep.
Also wanted to say thank you very much, Bettina, for
that's okay. Well, I hope it was useful.
Yeah, I found it very useful.
Yeah, so prickly ash is my favourite one. I usually do that as capsules or liquid. But then you've also got, of course, ginkgo, vitamin E, fish oil, anything that makes the blood move. So some people will need calcium. Anything that's warming. And cayenne is, usually blended though with other, and yarrow. And see, yarrow's got your flavonoids and everything for, it's just, good herb, yarrow. Yarrow's a blood mover. Yeah, good for anyone with heavy periods, and